Good morning, everyone. This is the Assiniboine Community Committee. Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. The time is roughly around 9:38. Right now, my name is Councillor Dobson. I'm the chairperson. We have with us Councillor Duncan, Councillor Luce. Our clerk is Ms. Cohen. And from the public service, we have Mr. Golson. Right now, I'd like to do the land and water acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. And right now, could I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 21st? Okay, from Councillor Luce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, could I have a suspension of the rules to allow someone to speak?
Yeah, I'd like
Delegate.
a suspension of the rules to allow a delegate to speak that didn't register in time from the deadline. If we could allow him to speak, that would be great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
So we'll start with delegations. First to speak is John Fangeling, to be heard with respect to report 11. Is John here? No? Okay, so we'll move on to David Grant. David is not joining us in the Zoom meeting. So I'll move on to John Winthrop to be heard with respect to report 13.
Morning, councillors. The Assiniboine Community Committee. I think I've been here before on this application a few years ago. It was approved as a DASZ. Work has progressed on it. At that time, some variances were also approved. We've asked for extension of time once before. We're asking for another one. Work is continuing on the project. They've been working to try to find funding. There's been different sources of funding over the last couple of years. Previously, it was CMHC. And then with the Housing Accelerator Fund, because they're looking to have an affordable housing component. With that, there's been a slight redesign that will likely come forward to a public hearing in the future for variances. I believe that I think it's going to be at this community, but I'll let that be decided because they're still, I think, processing and looking at the design and working it in to accommodate the affordable housing component. What we're asking today is for another extension of time. But the proponents feel pretty confident they're likely to have this more wrapped up in the matter of weeks or months, not years. So we're asking for another extension of time, but we are progressing and moving this forward at this site, which is right next to a rapid transit station. It was a former City of Winnipeg piece of land, declared surplus, sold off, and some housing approved on it. I think that would be the ideal situation here.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'm very supportive of an extension. I know there's been challenges with this lot. It's a spectacular lot. We've got some high density housing approved. You can literally spit to the bus stop. So, and I know that there's complications with the capacity, which is
Engineering, yes.
running problem here is capacity. So I'm supportive of this. So I don't have any questions. More questions?
No more questions. Very good presentations. That it does make sense, and the affordable housing portion is well appreciated.
Yes, I believe it was actually an idea from the ward councillor. It was a condition of approval, if I'm not mistaken. So, but it was very agreeable to everybody involved because of the location right next to rapid transit. It is within 100 meters of a BRT Blue Line rapid transit stop. This is where we want to have housing go. This is where we want affordable housing. It's just the funding mechanisms over the last couple of years from the feds have changed slightly. So that's been fluid, and they're working to nail that down, I think, over the next few months.
That is perfect. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thanks.
Okay, next is Jairo Biafara to be heard with respect to report 15. So you're welcome to come up to the front. You have up to 10 minutes of your presentation.
Good morning.
City Councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. Basically, item number 15 is a community-driven, city planner driven project trying to bring to your attention a situation that is happening and affecting some residents in the city, particularly those ones living in the downtown and core areas of the city. For the last 3 years, I've been working on the analysis of traffic collisions involving pedestrians, and I've been fortunate enough to have the support of Councilor Janice Luke and also Councilor Allard. They've been very committed to finding answers and bringing new responses to officials in the city that can really actually make some improvement to this situation. So the report is there. Is bringing to you to your attention the fact that downtown is becoming extremely dangerous for pedestrians. It's a concentration also of traffic accidents causing injuries, major and minors. But the most important issue is the humanization of the problem. We have a lot of families that are being deprived from the ability to continue being united together, enjoying their life in the city. We have a number of residents unable to actually attain licenses or move around the city freely. And then therefore they need a safe pedestrian network that affords them the ability to go and find new opportunities for a successful life in the city. So I'm asking a favor, please, whenever at your own time, have a look at the report and also bring it to the attention of the decision makers in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Councillor Luz?
Great, thanks, Jairo. Thank you very much for this report. I, like Councillor Allard, feel you have very robust, detailed reports that we really appreciate. Now, your data, so you get it from MPI, correct?
Yes.
You get all your data from MPI, and then you proceed to sift and sort and break it down. What's the most recent data you got from MPI? From when?
It was, I have the data as far as the year 2021.
2021.
Yes, but unfortunately, there is a situation, there is a delay from MPI's part to provide this information to the city. That's the reason even the city officials make every effort to be always updated and to be able to provide reports on time. The fact that the data takes about a year for them to get makes the whole thing a little bit delayed. That's the reason I only did the analysis up to year 2020.
Yeah, that's what we're finding. It's unfortunate because it takes time to get it from MPI, then it takes about another year or so to go through the data. And then it takes another year or two to actually make a decision and then do a correction. So it's unfortunate that MPI takes so long to get you this really critical, that gets us, anyone, this critical data. So, you know, we do have an equity lens that we put on every decision that we make here, but your work really highlights it even more. I believe it's next month, we have our annual road safety strategy report coming forward.
Okay.
You know that we invested, now we've got a team of 4 people focused on road safety. And we have a budget for the next 6 years of 30 million, which sounds like a lot, but it goes fast, right? In an old city. So, this is a great report. Why do you do, like, I don't know, you don't work for someone to do these reports, you do these on your own, is that correct?
Well, some people like sending resumes.
Yes.
I send real projects. So that means I need to.
Okay, well, this is a good resume. Okay, got it. No, it's okay. I really appreciate your reports because I get a lot of information out of them. And it really helps explain scenarios like the Point Douglas North and Point Douglas South, you know, like, I'll be speaking to Councillor Santos about this, just so she's even more aware of it. This report will go to our Public Works Committee, which, not that you guys aren't excited about Public Works activity, but the committee will even put a closer lens on this and talk to the department. We'll have the department there to talk about it. But your maps, your information, the way it's presented, the breakdown it's really robust, and I find it extremely helpful. I'm a big advocate for improving road safety and pedestrian and cycling safety. So Oh, yeah, I just want to thank you for your report and giving it to me in enough time to get it on the agenda so we can talk about it more in Public Works.
Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, anyone else have questions or no? Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you at Public Works. Okay.
Just confirming that neither of you folks are John Sangling to be heard with respect to report 11. Okay, well, that's the end of delegations.
Okay.
Start reports.
Oh my God, look at these legal agreements.
Yeah, where were we with that?
All right.
First report is the semi-annual summary of delegated authority to award per capita land dedication and community incentive grants.
Okay, I'll move that this be accepted, that the public services recommendation be accepted.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 2 is an occasional liquor permit.
Okay.
That's for the Glam Bar Bazaar. I am
Okay.
totally in support of this. It's at 1485 Portage Avenue.
A lot of these are yours. Do you want me to take the chair or do we want to just? Why do we have to do that? Like, does he have to approve his own or can I
Yeah.
approve it? or-
In actuality, I can't approve it as chair, so if one of you
Oh,
wishes to move it, then we can vote for it
sure, I'll
that way.
move it.
Okay,
Okay. And just a question to the clerk. Did we not kind of clear up all of these liquor permit ones? We still have to have them come to committee?
There hasn't been a final decision yet, so I emailed the counselors, but I don't think I have received a response back and preferred advocate for that.
Oh,
Happy to
re-email it then.
Happy to.
Okay, all right.
I'll
Okay,
circle back with you at the end of the meeting.
perfect.
so
Okay.
you've got a motion?
Yeah,
Support.
motion to support the public services recommendation,
Okay, all
The
those-
occasional liquor permit?
the occasional liquor permit.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item number 3.
I'll move a motion to support this also, the Liberian Canadian Association's liquor permit.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Item number 4, occasional liquor permit.
I'll move this one too, Israeli karaoke night liquor permit.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion,
You need to go around.
aye, motion carried. Item number 5,
Move the Assiniboine Memorial Curling Club occasional liquor permits. So moved.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Occasional liquor permit for number 6.
Yeah, I'll move item number 6.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
It's embarrassing.
Item number 7, occasional liquor permit, Manitoba Ball Hockey Association.
Yeah, I'm happy to move this great event out in Westwood there. So so moved for the occasional liquor permit for MBHA.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Occasional liquor permit, St. Paul's High School.
As well, I'll move the St. Paul's High School occasional liquor permit. So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Counselors, for this next item, apologies, just to let you know, the organization contacted me yesterday and they no longer require the occasional liquor permit, so
Oh,
you can file the matter if you wish. or
Okay,
send this information.
motion to file it.
Okay, all those in favor of filing it?
Aye.
aye.
Motion carried.
Like a bunch of drunks out there. Okay.
Number 10, traffic study on Wilkes Avenue.
Okay,
Chair, do we have the public service?
Don't believe they're here, no.
no public works people are here. Did you ask for them to come? No.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
we're doing with this.
Wow, they did come. I guess we could see if we can get them on the phone and come back to it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
All right.
maybe the clerk could get
I can certainly send an email.
Andrew Connon probably, or
I believe Greg Blatz is
Greg Blatz,
covering for
okay.
Mr. Patman or Mr. Berezowski or whomever.
So we'll pause this one until
come to
the end?
Yeah.
Okay, Then we'll move on to number 11, non-conforming approach, 501 Stewart Avenue.
Okay, so they want a wider front driveway.
Yeah. With this one, they have like the driveway on their property is a double, and they've been, since the house was built, in 2021, have been have a single approach on the public boulevard, like a single lane, and then have been driving over the boulevard, over the slotted part of the boulevard. So they are applying to, construct an approach on the public boulevard that lines up, with their double driveway.
This seemed to be the topic of most popularity in the summer in my ward there. So essentially, they require the variance because the original driveway is not conforming to what
They need this non-conforming application because the width of the approach that they're applying to build is wider than what the private access bylaw allows.
right.
So that's the reason why it's up here today, is because of the width.
But it has been like this for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, like, our most, like, as of this year, it was the driveway on the property has been built since the house was built in 2021, but the boulevard part of the driveway, the approach itself to the property has been a single drive aisle. And if you look on Street View, it shows that also driving across the sodded part, creating mud and so forth.
And what is the width of the?
So anyone could build like a double driveway on their house lot and then apply to get a double approach?
Well, they would have to build the approach part. When the applicant submitted their house plans to PP&E, they showed a double garage with a single lane, like the driveway was a single, but what they built in actuality was this double.
So they showed they were building a single, and then what they built was a double, and now they want to have a double access on the boulevard.
On the boulevard, correct.
Right, and what does the city say about that? You're approving it, but what does it say here? It says an approach must not be less than 3 meters or greater than 6.5 meters. So is this,
They want 8.5.
they want 8.5?
I mean, it looks like garbage as it stands right now, so it would be nice if the public service looked at these things and I guess prevented some way or better organizing it. It's like a parking pad in front of a parking lot, I should say, in front of their house there, so. I'll support it just to clean up the area there, but certainly some more thought should be given to it in the approval phase for the construction, I would say.
So if they propose they do one driveway and they do two, if they present the plan that they're doing one, and then they do two, is that not a violation of what they were approved for?
Yeah, it could be, like, it could be an enforcement issue. With this one, I don't believe it was.
Well, no, like it wasn't enforced is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is an enforcement issue, but it wasn't enforced. So they put the double driveway in. Now they want a double access.
Yeah.
So we just keep paving our boulevards.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, to build the double, to turn around and build the double is not, really a violation. But to create the private approach that is this wide is. So that's why it's this application today.
And no one's here to speak to it or tell us why. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They built double driveways.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, this
Right,
is a public
right.
works application.
Right.
And in fact, like just looking at this, their driveway is more like 4 cars wide.
The way it functions, yeah, it's a lot.
And then they have a vehicle parked on a gravel pad on the side. I don't think they can do that either, right?
Mhm.
In the last picture, or second last picture, or every picture.
Yeah, the zoning bylaw, doesn't allow parking in front of a house. Obviously you have a driveway that, leads to a garage, people can park in there, but that shouldn't be considered a parking spot.
Right.
If it's beside the house, then it's fine, but parking in front of a house is technically not allowed.
Right, it has to be in front of the garage, but you can see in the picture there, it's so wide that they could put another car beside that garage towards the house,
Yeah.
right? Sure, okay. Okay.
All right,
Okay, no more questions.
all right, no more questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll vote nay.
Okay, I will vote yay, I'll vote for it.
Yeah.
So the vote is 2-1. Motion is to approve.
That will just also require a motion for supporting reasons from.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure. I can, just as it stands right now, the current property, is an eyesore, in my opinion, of the neighborhood there in the street. I've actually had a few people from the neighborhood request that this be addressed by Public Works and Property and Development. The only reason that I'll be supporting today is to satisfy the neighbors in the area that have to look at the non-existent driveway and the destruction of the city boulevard. However, as I stated in my comments earlier, it'd be nice if Public Works and Property and Development would take these things into consideration when approving residential builds in existing neighborhoods, single-family residential builds in existing neighborhoods.
Okay, those are the comments. And then I'll ask the question again. All those in favor?
Nay.
Aye. Motion carried.
Position?
Yes.
Okay, item number 12, extension of time, plan of subdivision and rezoning 398 Elmhurst Road.
Could I get some information from the public service on this, please,
Sure.
Mr. Chair?
Good morning, can you hear me?
Oh, Angie, we can't hear you. Perhaps maybe
Even
keep
better.
your headphones off.
I'm sorry?
We're having a hard time hearing you. Could you perhaps take your headphones off or unplug your headphones maybe?
No. Hang on. Is that better?
Better.
Better? Okay. Sorry, I'm toggling between two meetings. Good morning, councillors and Madam Chair. This one is an extension of time for 398 Elmhurst Road. Council had adopted the original subdivision and rezoning back in July of 2022 to establish the R1M single family district. The bylaw has not been enacted to date by the applicant, and the 2-year period is set to expire. So that is why they have applied for this extension, and we are going to support it for 1 year to see if they're going to gain any traction on this.
Any,
Okay, so they just don't have their finances in order. That's what the letter seems to say, that the attachment was. They're wanting an extension of time, right?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, and this is for, it's a lot split, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So what I read here from, they're requesting a 6-month extension and that they've applied for Mylars and lot grading, but they're concerned that they won't meet this deadline of September 22nd.
Yes, and we, knowing how long these applications can typically take for them to line all of those items up with their surveyor, we would recommend 1 year rather than the 6 months. So that's why we're recommending to support for 1 year.
And are you aware of what the during this application to split these lots, what the community's feedback was?
I am not, but Mr. Galston might be able to respond to that.
Nobody home? Can't hear you.
I said I am not knowledgeable on that, but Mr. Galston, the planner, should be able to respond to that.
What year was that?
Yes.
Or 22.
It was originally approved in 2021.
Much better. You could probably send us the link to the approval of
Hey,
it.
she's online
You
again.
can see any of the feedback.
It would take, I can certainly do that.
Sorry, Angie, if we can hear you in and out there, I'll ask another question and
Sure.
so you're saying 2021, I'm seeing the history dated as July 21 of 2022.
That was probably when it went to community committee.
Okay.
And then it was approved by council in September.
Okay. So we're three.
I'm not sure if you heard me earlier, but I had said I'm not sure about the community feedback, but that's something that our planners, either Mr. Galston or at the time Mr. Clark, would have been able to provide information on.
When did it come to community? June?
June of 2022, June 27th meeting.
2022?
Yeah.
So where's the 2021 date?
That may have been when they got their application in the system, was late in 2021, but by the time it.
So there would have been public notice given in all of this?
Right here, public hearing.
Yeah,
Public hearing, okay.
I don't recall, I think I was in attendance at this meeting.
I'll move to, for an extension of time of 1 year for item number 12.
Okay,
To concur in the public service recommendation.
Yes, thank you.
January 21st, 2025. Do you think given?
That's, yes, correct, January 1, 2025.
21st.
21st, sorry, my bad.
hey, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried. Number 13, extension of time, subdivision and rezoning, land located at the northeast corner of Gull Lake Road and Markham Road.
Sure, so I'll support the public services recommendations to extend the time to complete the necessary registration or to extend the time.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Number 14, plan approval 1725 Kenniston Boulevard.
Okay, does the department want to say anything? I know all about this. I don't know if they're here.
Sure, yeah, just very quickly, this is an addition to an existing McDonald's in like the West End McGilvery area. It's two separate building additions. One is on the west side of the property, and that will be kind of like a vestibule area for delivery drivers, basically for mobile orders. And then on the east side of the building will be an addition that is a indoor garbage room. Currently, they just have an outdoor garbage compound, but they're bringing it indoors. So, and the exteriors of both additions are matching in terms of the colors, the materials of the main part of the building. It doesn't have a significant impact on parking and drive aisles and things like that on the site. So for that reason, we're supportive of this plan approval.
Yeah, and I'm supportive, and I don't know if anyone's here or maybe they're watching. I had thought we could do a special committee meeting in the summer and approve this, but this is the one that I requested, but was informed we can't. So apologies to McDonald's out there, whoever's listening. I'll move that, the report be approved, the public services recommendation be approved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried. Item number 15, report on motor vehicle collisions involving pedestrians.
Yeah, this is Mr. Viafara's report that I had asked that he bring forward, and we put on the agenda so that we could read it, review it. We had some good media coverage on it that highlighted a lot of things that we are aware of. And I'd like this report to go to the Public Works Committee after here. If anyone's got any comments or anything they'd like to say, you know.
I think it's a good idea.
We'll go to Public Works with it. Okay, so,
I just want to thank our delegation here. It's like looking over the report. It's quite a bit of time spent by a member of the public to put in there, and it's meaningful work. So thank you very much for doing that.
very good work, very good. Okay, so I'll make a motion to move it to the Public Works Committee, so we can discuss it a little more robustly there with the Public Works folks and the Public Service. All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay,
Now we're gonna go back to the traffic study.
yeah, do we have anyone from Traffic Study World? Well, maybe what we could do is we not close this meeting, we could do our public hearing and then have them come.
Sure, if you'd like to do that, you certainly can.
Oh, okay, do you wanna do that?
Yeah,
So
I'm
we'll
happy
just
to-
pause this.
Okay. Okay, so.
Okay, motion, or this meeting is recessed until 10:30 when the hearings will start.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Assiniboine Community Committee hearing. Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. My name is Councillor Dobson. I'll be the chairperson today, and we have with us Councillor Duncan and Councillor Lukes. Our clerk is Ms. Cohen, and from the public service, we have Mr. Galston. And at this point, I would like to do the land and water acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Innu and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. And I think I'm going to pass it on to the clerk at this point.
All right, in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the public hearing process brochure, which is available on the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is the subdivision and rezoning at 457 Sterling Lion Parkway under file DASZ 28 of 2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 2 is a variance at 457 Sterling Lion Parkway under file DAV 151605 of 2024D. Please note additional communications were received in support of the matter after the agenda was published, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. All participants have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. Once you have been heard, you can either remain in the Zoom meeting or leave and continue to watch live via the city's YouTube channel. If any participants on Zoom are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute the YouTube audio now. Well, to the matter to give a brief overview of the application.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. The subject site is on the north side of Sterling Lion Parkway. This is in the Seasons mixed-use development and in the Tuxedo Industrial Neighborhood and in the Charleswood Tuxedo Westwood Ward. This site is approximately 3.6 acres in size and has two separate one-story commercial buildings on the site, which are on the easterly side of the property, and on the west side of the property, it's currently vacant, undeveloped land. This property is in in a regional mixed use center under the Complete Communities Direction Strategies urban structure map. And this property is currently zoned C4 commercial regional. The applicant proposes to subdivide the subject property into two separate lots and rezone one of these lots to the CMU commercial mixed use district. And this is to accommodate the construction of a multifamily development on this lot. This proposed lot will be approximately 1.5 acres in size. Plans submitted show that the proposed multifamily development is a 7-story building, and this building will contain 162 dwelling units, which will include a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. There are a total of 121 accessory parking stalls proposed to be constructed for this multifamily development, including 44 underground parking stalls. Access to the proposed development on lot 1 will be taken from an existing approach from the private street on the west side of the site. Additionally, access through a shared access through a cross-access agreement will also be enabled so that this property can be accessed from the lot to the east. There are no private approaches or access points directly from Sterling Line proposed as part of this application. As the clerk had mentioned, there is also an associated variance that is applied for as part of this. This variance application includes variances for the building side yards. They're proposing about 17 feet instead of 20 feet. The building height, they're proposing a maximum height of 75 feet instead of 60 feet. A variance is applied for lot area per dwelling unit. They are proposing a lot area per dwelling unit of 410 square feet instead of the 800 square feet that is permitted. There's a variance for street edge landscaping. There's a variance for the number of parking stalls. They're providing 121, but 243 stalls are being proposed, are required, sorry. As well, there is a variance for the parking area setback. They're proposing a 0-foot setback from the parking area from Sterling Lion. The public service supports the subdivision rezoning application and the associated variance application. Reasons are this proposal is consistent with policies for regional mixed use centers, which support multifamily development at a higher density when they are compatible with the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding area is characterized by a mix of uses, including existing multifamily uses. The site is located in proximity to existing and future transit service. As well, it will connect to existing active transportation networks and sidewalks within and beyond the Seasons development. Respecting the variance application, the public service recommends approval with conditions that would require an ornamental fence be located along the parking area that's set back 0 feet from the property line along Sterling Line. And that 2 additional trees and 9 additional shrubs be planted in the front yard abutting Sterling Line. This is just to because of the reduced setback and lack of landscaping shown in their plan. At this time, this will kind of soften and buffer that parking area from the public street environment. A plan approval is required to come back to community committee for any development here. So if those conditions are approved, then they would just show that on their plan approval application and that could be decided on at that point. So that concludes my summary. Thank you.
Okay. What do we have for in support?
So first we'll hear from the applicant, Nathan Willem and Blair Forrester.
Oh, Nathan, you've got 10 minutes.
I'm Blair.
Or Blair. I got it next time.
Well, thank you, counselors and administration. My name is Blair Forrester. I'm the president of Forrester Harbor Development Corp. And I'm a 50% owner of the Seasons project, and we also act as development manager for the asset. Nathan Wilhelm is with me. He's our vice president, construction and development. The application before you today is a continuation of the vision that we've had for the Seasons project since we acquired the Brownfield site over a decade ago. When we purchased the raw land, it was zoned and serviced at the time, but it was pretty clear to us that the Kenaston retail corridor was a dominant retail trade district in the city of Winnipeg. And our traditional box campus type development would not be successful here. So we looked at it through an entirely different lens. The cornerstone of that was delivering our Outlet Collection Winnipeg project to the city, which has been incredibly successful. It's a true fashion outlet mall of about 400,000 square feet of retail space. And I was talking to Councillor Duncan just before this meeting, and we're going to get close to about 4 million visits there this year. I think we're actually going to exceed 4 million visits there. So it's been successful. The balance of that project is an integrated mixed use project. And the intention was that not only did it accommodate all of your retail needs for the trade area, but it also had life cycle residential delivered. Our first phase of that was clustered in the northwest area of the site, which has 500 apartment units. It's got a condo development with the second phase of that going under construction right now, and an assisted living seniors facility. So literally you can live your entire life at Seasons, and with the retail amenities that we put on site, you can live your daily life without leaving. And that was the vision that we had for the site, and I think we're well down the way to accomplishing that vision. If you've been to our site, we're incredibly proud of it. The architecture, I think, is leading in Winnipeg. Our landscaping requirements are leading in Winnipeg, and the connectivity from a multimodal perspective delivers virtually a pathway to every single storefront within the project. This next phase of development is the integrated nature of it. So we're now taking residential and we're distributing it throughout the project, such that outside of every one of the parcels, you're putting a consumer and a resident embedded into the retail nature. And I believe this is the future for all commercial projects in Western Canada, and you're going to see this popping up in every municipality. With CMHC out there aggressively promoting residential development, and with the Housing Accelerator Fund that I'm sure you're dealing with at council right now, we believe that this project aligns very well with both municipal and federal direction for housing. We are selling the land to Paragon, who we believe is a best-in-class residential developer in your community. They are, I believe, making a presentation following ours to outline the specifics of the proposal, show you the elevations. We've worked with them and their architecture group pretty closely, and I think what you're going to see is very aesthetically pleasing and something that we're going to be proud to have in our project, and I hope Councillor Duncan's going to be incredibly proud to have in his ward. So that was basically our presentation. We submitted a letter outlining that in a little bit more detail, but Nathan and I are here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions from the council? Councillor Duncan.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming here today to speak to this application. We're looking at the east side of the entrance into the Seasons property. Is there future plans for the west side to look similar or to give more opportunity?
Yeah, great question through the chair. The other side of the road has already been zoned for this use. It's already zoned CMU. So you're going to see two, I'll call them sister towers, that are going to be framing that entranceway into the site. And I think the mirroring of these, providing that gateway straight through your throat road, is going to look directly at Saxaw Fifth when you're coming into the site. We've got future plans for a restaurant hub to be around the roundabout at that corner. So we think it's going to be an amazing gateway into the project.
And any timeline on when we could potentially see any other additional applications come forward?
if this goes well and the project is successful, I think you're gonna see 2 additional applications coming in relatively short order. I believe Nathan and his team have been already in discussion with your admin group here at the city.
So, this is a very exciting project. On Schedule C in the report, it says that the Water and Waste Department advises there is adequate water servicing for the proposed development, and that there is currently adequate wastewater servicing. So is that the case for this development?
Yeah, again, great question, and through the chair, we've got a lot of additional land yet to develop in there. So technically, yes, we've got all the services we require for this project. But if we absorbed all of them in this application, we may run into problem down the road depending on who the users of the rest of the commercial project are. So this applicant actually is increasing the capacity in the network offsite in conjunction with this application.
So it's increasing the capacity for the apartments, leaving you capacity for the commercial.
Correct.
And the capacity, it's probably because it's closer to the pipe, the cost would be less. Is that why? Why are we making this developer do the pipe and not the commercial?
Because that capacity is what we bought and paid for initially with the site, and to make sure that we don't run into any negative impacts for the development of the site, the rest of the site that we own, we want to make sure that the applicant delivers a suitable capacity in the network such that what we originally bought and paid for is still left for future phases of our development.
And because you're doing a conversion to this one, that wasn't initially, the capacity wasn't built into the project.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
this is residential has a slightly higher demand than commercial. Yeah.
Okay. And then from the active transportation perspective here, you've got, this project, or the whole Seasons of Tuxedo had come up in a discussion about connectivity from active transportation at, I don't know, another approval at some point in the past. And you've got a sidewalk that comes off Sterling Lion. What does it connect to? There's nothing on, the multi-use pathways on the south side of Sterling Lion. So you have a pathway in front of the building. Is that what I'm seeing?
We've got sidewalks on both sides of the road that connect to a multimodal pathway that runs along our collector road that runs through the project on the north side. So you've got a one on Sterling Line, and then you've got one that bisects the site in its entirety and then connects into Tuxedo Point on the west side.
Great. Okay, this is great.
No more questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is Evan Hansen, who's joining us via Zoom. Evan, you can go ahead and unmute your microphone, and you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thanks very much, and hello to the committee. I appreciate you taking the time to, or allowing me the time to speak today in support of this project at Seasons Outlet Mall. I will share my screen and then I'll go through my presentation.
You're gonna have to just pause while we try to get the volume up. Keep speaking, please, and maybe we can adjust the volume.
Sure. Let me know if there's any issues at my end that I can correct.
I'm pretty certain it's on our end.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking here, and hopefully you're all having a good day today, and that the committee is
Okay, we got it. We're good.
perfect. Okay, well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. So I'm here on behalf of Paragon Living and Affinity Architecture as the architect to give you a high-level overview of what this project is all about and what we've designed. My name is Evan Hansen. I'm the principal architect at Affinity Architecture. In broad strokes, the building is going to be built of high quality construction. It's going to be a concrete building, which is great for sound attenuation for residents and fire resistance. We're going to build it out of sustainable construction materials. The building will perform really well in terms of energy efficiency. The units will be rented at market rates, and also there will be a certain proportion of affordable rentals that we'll talk about later. All the units will have water and high-speed internet included in the rents, and all of the units will have contemporary luxury finishes, including quartz countertops. And the buildings will have lots of resident amenities, and I'll go into those details a little bit later. I'd like to share with you now a video that we prepared early on in the project, and it sort of shows what the building could look like in context and illustrates the experience of the building as you drive up that throat road that Blair was talking about. So hopefully you'll be able to see it at your end. Is the video playing for you? Are you getting this?
Yes, it's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, great. So this is the approach as if you were heading westbound on Sterling Lion, and here you're just turning into the Throat Road and looking at Saks Fifth Avenue at the end of the Throat Road. You can see how the buildings are framing the entryway into the property, and also how they could integrate in terms of color and massing with the rest of the buildings on the property to really make them feel like part of the overall development. So today we're talking about, as Blair had mentioned, the property on the east side that needs to be varied, but there is a building also that's kind of a twin of this one, or mirror image, that's on the west side of the Throat Road. But we'll talk about this one and focus our attention on its attributes for right now. So you can see how the building is running parallel to the Throat Road. It's framing the arrival to the site. Parking is located behind the building and as well as underneath the building. So your initial impression as you drive up the Throat Road isn't just parking, it's the architecture of the complex. And the entrances are all tied into the pedestrian circulation pathways on the site. And as Blair had mentioned, there's a real opportunity to live your whole life here on this site and access all the commercial amenities, restaurants and things like that that are available on the property. This slide shows the design of the buildings, what we're proposing. Again, it complements the overall Seasons aesthetic by pulling in some of the colors that you see elsewhere on the property and featuring the sort of bent L-shaped parapet aesthetic that we see so prominently on the other buildings on site. We think it complements the overall Seasons aesthetic very well. And it also, even though it's a fairly substantial building, its mass is broken down by a variety of colors, textures, and planes that we're adorning the building with. And also the building steps down towards Sterling Lion to transition a little bit towards Sterling Lion and to provide a place for a resident rooftop patio. I'd mentioned earlier about the sustainability and energy efficiency attributes of the building. I'll go into that a little bit more now. The goal is to make the building 25 to 30% more energy efficient than the code would require, the latest national energy code for buildings. And we'll do that through a variety of ways, through both the envelope and the systems that are in the building. So we'll have triple pane windows, highly efficient lighting, highly efficient heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, efficient plumbing equipment, low flow fixtures to save on water usage. And one of the most significant energy contributors for this building is the way that the envelope is being constructed. So it's being built of insulated concrete forms. There's an image of that right here. You've probably seen it. It's kind of like a Lego type product that gets stacked and then filled with concrete. And the form itself is made of insulation, which contributes to the energy efficiency of the building. It's continuous rigid exterior insulation, which means there's not a lot of thermal bridging that's happening. And so it's highly efficient. And interestingly, the block that we've chosen for this particular project uses a special type of insulation called BASF Neopore Biomass Balance Insulation. It's a sustainable product that's net zero in terms of its use of fossil fuels. So in its manufacture, it's not contributing any more greenhouse gas than the amount that's removed from the atmosphere, or it's neutral in terms of the greenhouse gas use. Down below is a diagram of the energy usage of the building, and you can see the primary contributor to the reduction in energy usage is space heating electricity, which is thanks primarily to the ICF block and also some of the service equipment that we're using in the building. The building is going to be very affordable with 10% of all units priced at 30% of the median renter income. Those rents will be in place for 10 years. And as I mentioned earlier, high-speed internet and water is included in those rents. The suites are equipped with energy efficient appliances, which is even easier on the tenants' pocketbooks because it reduces their monthly hydro bill. And there's premium finishes like quartz countertops throughout the building. And also the entire building is universally accessible. There's barrier-free access to the entrance to all levels and within all common areas and common washroom facilities. And all the suites are designed to be completely universal in nature. So they're accessible by people with a variety of mobility difficulties. And there's a bunch of criteria in order to achieve that designation as complying with full universal design. But the two that I think are most significant are the doors that are sufficient for access by mobility devices, and then the kitchen and bathrooms being designed to provide sufficient maneuvering space for wheelchair users to approach and operate the fixtures and appliances. And the buildings are going to have many resident amenities, such as a multi-purpose room, fitness room, business center, a theater, dog wash, and of course the rooftop patio that I mentioned earlier. And as we get into the design a little bit more, I'm sure we'll come up with more resident amenities to share. So that's the end of my presentation. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again.
Councilors, any questions?
No, I have no questions. I want to say that I've worked with Paragon on 5 or 6 projects now, and I think you've got one in your
Yes,
ward
yes,
also.
we have one.
And they do incredible work, so that's great. And the whole insulation factor and everything, Evan, is really that's a real positive, right? That's a real positive. And this whole complex, you know, from all aspects of it. I worked with the Brightwater. The Brightwater has a development in my ward and have been and toured the Brightwater, which is, you know, another stage in life where, you know, you can basically live your whole entire life in Sterling in this area. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that is a factor. So no, this is great. I have no questions. This is very good.
Councilor Duncan?
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Evan. I don't know if I'm not sure if there's any other presenters, but I just wanted to potentially touch on choice around density and you know, how 7 stories and the number of units fits the bill for this particular area.
Well, contextually, there's many other 7-story buildings that are happening in this area. There's 2 that I've been involved with over to the west, just adjacent to this property. When you're developing affordable buildings, it's really important to hit a certain density metric in order to make the math work, especially when you're building out of concrete the way we are and providing the high quality finishes. So I wouldn't profess to be an expert in the math, but I know that there is some mathematics involved when you're calculating the cost of the building versus the rents and the density.
So we've seen a couple of these 6-7 story buildings be proposed through this committee and then work its way up for approval. And again, I'm not trying to get you to be the math expert as you stated there, but you know, there are also taller buildings in that area. And, you know, as we can see from the submissions, there was no opposition to this, and what an opportunity to potentially, you know, have potentially more density on these. Well, we'll speak to the one location at this moment.
Yeah, I think these parking lots and shopping malls are a great opportunity for adding residential units to the city.
So no consideration for more density on the spot.
Oh, definitely. There are plans for additional buildings on the site for sure.
But in this specific application?
In this specific application in this building, not that I'm aware of.
And no particular reasoning around why the number 7 for number of stories at 70, whatever feet it ended up being?
Well, architecturally, there's kind of like a code threshold beyond 7 stories, and once you get beyond that with residential units, again, there's some additional fire protection measures that have to be implemented, And those add significantly to the price of the building. So we found that this is a real kind of sweet spot for providing the building with the attributes that we want and the high quality finishes, durability, while still providing affordability.
So that's the answer I'm looking for. When residents ask, hey, I want to live in the Seasons of Tuxedo area too, but I can't find any places there. I need to be able to communicate with them why developers choose what heights and densities they want. So I appreciate that response.
Sure, no problem.
If there's no more questions, thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have no one else registered in support. I will note that there's someone in the Zoom meeting with the name N iPhone. I'm not too sure that person did not register, but just calling for anyone else who wishes to speak in support of the application. You would need to have registered in order to speak, so.
Okay, it was just Nigel Fergus from Paragon Living. I thought I did register, so my apologies if it didn't go through. I was doing it from Greece, so I do apologize for that.
Okay, are you wishing to register in support of the application?
Yes, and if I may speak to Councillor Duncan's question, I can address the question on the density and height.
We require some information from you in order to register.
Okay, not a problem. It's okay. I don't need to speak.
No, you can. It's just that we need some additional information from you, and I just don't want to advertise that information as a live streamed meeting. So
No problem.
if one of your colleagues could email me or email your information to me so that we can register you. We require that information. So
Not a problem. I can just not speak today. Thank you.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I just, is there anyone on your team? I know that there's like Evan is left the meeting, but perhaps someone else has Nigel's information, or is there anyone that could put me in touch with Nigel so that I can get the information that we require in order to register him? That's okay. Yeah, it could be done as long as you.
We'll make sure it's.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. You have up to 10 minutes for the presentation.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, just to speak. Thank you everyone for your time today. And I think this is a prime example of how we can develop high quality, affordable housing in malls and parking lots. I know that is a priority for housing right now. And Paragon, we really strive to deliver that in the city of Winnipeg. And to speak to Councillor Duncan's question, the density item is a result of the parking requirements. So for 160 units, we have 121 parking spots, and we believe that there's a level of comfort that comes with that, trying to incorporate 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and single unit accommodations as well. So it's kind of one of those things that we're limited by our parking here, else we would have gone higher and included more density. So thank you for that, and we will look at that for future developments for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nigel.
Okay, there's no one else registered in support for the application, so just checking that no one in the gallery is registered in opposition. Okay, no one in the gallery is looking to speak with respect to the application for information. Okay, there are questions for the public service?
Any questions for the public service?
Nope.
The applicant is entitled to speak in rebuttal to comments made. So if you wish to return to speak in rebuttal, you don't wish to return, okay.
We have any motions?
Yeah, be happy to. I'd like to move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye. Move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Developments. Sorry, this will go straight to EPC. So forwarded to the Executive Policy Committee via the priority rezoning process. And my supporting reasons, obviously, housing shortages across Canada and specific to Winnipeg are continually needing to be addressed. This is one of those. To continue towards the completion of the Seasons development is a priority for not only the stakeholders here, but also the residents of Charleswood, Tuxedo and Westwood. And to also, just encourage investment into Winnipeg and specific to the ward I represent of Charleswood, Tuxedo, Westwood. Can we be quicker in these processes? Absolutely. And we'll work towards doing that to encourage that investment. But I'm proud to have this investment in my ward and happy to support it today.
Any other support?
Great project.
Okay.
Great
Perfect.
project. Let's keep doing
Okay.
more.
All those in favor?
Hi,
Aye. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision or rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay, that was the motion, that was the rezoning and variance combined. So we're moving right into the subdivision rezoning of the sub. Oh, variance next. We have to do variance next? Okay. Variance then.
Any for anybody to speak to the variance or we already concluded that piece? Okay, I just wanted to get any feedback if there was anything. So we're closed with that. So I'll move to. Okay. No, I think we'll move forward. I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
And that in accordance with subsection 2473, the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg, and any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining properties and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by street or waterway. That it is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. My supporting reasons, if I could have them reflected, the ones stated, and just to speak to the compatibility with the area, and that we continue to support densification in the Seasons of Tuxedo and surrounding areas.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
And Mr. Chair, I'll move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and that the variance be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Finally, that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those, pardon me, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Please note the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Okay, now we'll go to number 3.
Item 3 is the subdivision and rezoning at south of Bridgeland Drive North between Bridlewood Road and Prominence Point under file DASZ 23 of 2023. Please note additional communications were received in support of and in opposition to the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, then those registered in opposition, and finally those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, however, no new information is permitted. So the plan would like to give a brief overview of the application.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The subject property is located on the south side of Bridgeland Drive North between Bridlewood Road and Prominence Point. This is in the Bridgewater Forest neighborhood of the Waverly West Ward. The subject property is currently comprised of one lot. This lot zoned R1M, a residential single family medium zoning, and has a total lot area of 6.85 acres. It currently sits vacant. The subject property is located in the Established Neighborhoods Recent Communities Policy Area under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy, and is also located within the lower density single family residential policy area under the Waverly West Northeast Neighborhood Area Structure Plan. So that is the secondary plan for this neighborhood. The applicant's proposing to subdivide this existing property and create 17 residential lots and 1 public reserve lot. The proposed 17 residential lots will retain the existing R1M zoning on the property. So these will be single family lots, and the proposed public reserve lot will be rezoned to PR1 or Parks and Recreation zoning district. No building plans or design drawings for the houses have been submitted with this application. The plan of subdivision shows that 13 of the 17 proposed lots are to have frontage on a new cul-de-sac, public cul-de-sac that will be constructed on the site. This cul-de-sac will extend southward from Bridgeland Drive North at a point aligned with the current intersection of Bridgeland Drive North and Beecham Crescent. The 4 remaining proposed residential lots are to have frontage on Bridgeland Drive North. The residential lots will range in size from approximately 6,000 square feet to 11,000 square feet. These are approximate numbers. And each of the proposed residential lots will be accessed by front private approaches. The proposed rezoning on the portion of the site to be zoned PR1 or a public reserve parks and recreation zone will accommodate new passive park uses on the subject site and extend the existing active transportation network that is south of this property. They will extend it northward to Bridgeland Drive via the proposed new cul-de-sac. The proposed PR zone also includes separation areas between the new residential lots and the existing residential properties to the east and the west. The intent of these parts of the public reserve land are to buffer the proposed new residential properties from existing residential properties to the east and west. The separation distance on the west side is approximately 39 feet wide, and the separation distance on the east is approximately 33 feet in width. It's intended that this area will generally retain its existing natural features on the proposed PR land, including a number of mature trees located on the southern portion of this property currently. As well, the extension of the AT path through the proposed public reserve lot is the subject of servicing condition attached to this report, attached to the report under the Schedule B, the Administrative Coordinating Group report. And there are no variances associated with this proposed development, so it is just the subdivision rezoning that's before this committee today. And that's my summary. Thank you.
I just have one question that I'd like to clarify with you, and it was posted on the sign that was on the site. And I just would like you for the record to talk about that. So I'll read to you what was posted on the sign, okay? So on the sign, it said, an application for the approval of the plan of subdivision shown outlined as may be determined by council for proposal zoning change to bylaw number, blah, blah, blah. It says to facilitate the creation of lots, the establishment of right of way, and the establishment of public reserve for future residential development. So I got some people that were worked up about the fact that the public reserve, the concept in that sentence was that the public reserve was reserved for future development. So could you just clarify that, please?
Yeah, the end of that sentence that says for future residential development applies to all the clauses that preceded it. So to facilitate the creation of lots, the establishment of right of way, and the establishment of public reserve, all for the future residential development. So they're creating a residential development through the establishment of a right of way, the creation of lots, and public reserve. So there is no residential development, future residential development on the public reserve. Rather, they will be on those R1 lots that are proposed. So it's a it's a lengthy sentence that's included on the poster, but that part, the reference to future residential development applies to all things that are happening on this. So to clarify, there is no future development proposed for the public reserve land.
Good.
If
Okay,
there,
just
if
wanted
there
to
were,
clarify that.
if there were to be future development, that would need a change in zoning down the road.
Well, that's 2/3 vote of council on a park space, right? So.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. Perfect. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I had a lot of residents contact me on that.
Hey, Counselor Duncan.
Okay, this buffer, so I'm just gonna educate myself here very quickly on, we got single family homes, looks like. Is there any 2 stories there on Bridlewood? Bridlewood looks like it's got 2-story homes. They're back onto this?
yeah.
Okay, so you're doing or the proposed infill here is gonna be a cul-de-sac with no houses on the bulbous end of the cul-de-sac, is that what I'm gathering here?
Correct.
Okay, and then there's an additional 12-meter and 10-meter buffer on each side?
Yes.
What is the purpose of that?
That is to provide like city-owned land that won't be developed, to separate the backyards, the new backyards being created here, and the existing residential yards on Bridlewood and Providence Point. So it just enshrines like additional buffering space from existing residential properties.
And this is single family backing onto single family?
Correct.
Yeah.
And these ones on Bridlewood look considerably less deep than the ones on this proposed public road.
Yeah, I don't have, I'm just looking off the,
It was, I don't know if we've got, Metro Housing's gonna speak to this probably. It was a big desire of the residents. It's bizarre. I agree, it's bizarre. The city is not keen on having to maintain this, or hopefully people will plant trees, but
I mean,
it,
62 meters.
yeah,
That's not the depth of some of these lots, 62,
Yeah.
65, like it with.
it was a long process. And this is what Mantle Housing incredibly approved or agreed to. And, we're here today and that's that. So,
we don't see these types of
ever.
PR.
Well, I'm gonna remember this when people come to Charleswood knocking on the door, so they're gonna have their 12 meters and 10 meters of space, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have one question. Again, this is just gonna be a pathway or trees or something and is in between their backyards? It's gonna be a green space?
There won't, yeah, it will be passive green space. There is a pathway proposed that will connect to the cul-de-sac, so kind of in that main southern part of the public reserve land. But on these little strips on the east and west, there's no pathways proposed.
Just weird. That we wouldn't put it right up to their backyard. Okay. No more questions for me?
If there are no more questions for the public service, we can call up the applicant, Carrie Schultz. Speaking in support of the application.
And just to clarify, Leah, I know Megan Bowles also registered, but that was more just in case if I had been unable to make it. Because, you know,
Megan's not speaking
WestJet,
today.
multiple flight cancellations, but anyway, so she won't be here today, it'll just be me, and also Jamie.
Thank you very much, Carrie. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. So good morning, Chairperson Dobson and Councillor Duncan and Councillor Lukes, and members of the administration. Just thank you for the opportunity to present today. There is a presentation, Leah. Oh, you have
We
it?
have it, we all
Okay.
received it.
Okay. So my name is Carrie Schultz, and I'm a senior planner at WSP. So I'm here today on behalf of the applicant and owner of the subject site, which is Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation. And here with me today is Jamie Patrick, Director of the Land Development at MHRC. So as the city planner has already noted, we're here to discuss the proposed subdivision and rezoning of this site, legally described as Block 19, Plan 46837, located south of Bridgeland Drive North in the Bridgewater Forest neighborhood of Waverly West in southwest Winnipeg. Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation is the sole owner of the subject site and, as mentioned earlier, is the applicant for this subdivision and rezoning application. So this application, of course, is subject to the policies of our Winnipeg 2045 and the Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0. The land is classified as established neighborhoods, recent communities, and our proposal is consistent with both our Winnipeg 2045 and Complete Communities 2.0. And the proposed land use is the same as the surrounding land uses. The land is also subject to the Waverly West Northeast Structure Plan, where the land is classified as lower density residential area, and the proposal is also consistent with the structure plan. And a secondary plan amendment is not required. As mentioned already, the land is currently zoned R1M, and this zone accommodates primarily single unit residential development in lower density areas. No variances are required under the zoning bylaw for lot widths or lot areas, and a portion of the site, 3.04 acres, will be rezoned to parks and recreation. And this will ensure that the land zoned as PR1 cannot be further developed in the future, obviously unless you go through this same process. So this application is actually a re-application. It was previously applied for in 2019 under file number DSZ 16-2019. And the application at that time was approved and enacted by council in September 2022. The September 22nd, 2023 deadline was missed for submitting the signed servicing agreements between Manitoba Housing and the city. And then further discussions with the city at that time confirmed that a new rezoning and subdivision application would be required, hence why we're here today. As Councillor Duncan was questioning why we have that buffer, and Councillor Lutz discussed basically why, it was the result of the public consultation that we had very early on in the process. So prior to the original 2019 application, there was an extensive public consultation undertaken by MHRC with residents. So originally, the subject site was identified as one of the 6 proposed school sites in Waverly West. However, after the subject site was identified, the Pembina Trail School Division amended their criteria for new school sites. So some of this amended criteria included a minimum lot size of 10 acres with frontage on at least 2 public streets. And because of those requirements, this subject site doesn't meet the 10-acre minimum requirement or the frontage on 2 public streets, because there's only frontage on 1 public street. In 2012, the Pembina Trail School Division held a public information meeting to inform Waverly West residents that the 6 proposed school sites originally intended for the neighborhood had been scaled down to 4, and that a school would not be constructed in the Bridgewater Forest neighborhood due to its insufficient size and insufficient access to 2 major streets. In July 2014, MHRC met with the Bridgewater Forest Neighborhood Association to discuss the status of the school site. It was stated at this meeting that the Pembina Trail School Division formally decided not to construct a school on the subject site, and the land would now be subdivided for single-family development. In 2015 and 2016, additional meetings were held with the Bridgewater Forest Neighborhood Association to discuss MHRC's plans. And then in February 2016, there was an informal open house to further discuss and provide information on several Bridgewater items, including MHRC's plans for the development of the site. And then on May 3rd, 2017, MHRC held an open house to discuss the proposed project in even greater detail with the residents and stakeholders. And then following that final open house, the plans for the site were revised even further to incorporate additional community input. And that's how we arrived at this more unusual layout that includes the buffer. So basically, the purpose of this application is to reapply for the rezoning and subdivision, and the proposed layout is the exact same as what was approved by council in September 2022, and the proposed use aligns with the surrounding land uses. And then just to add further to the public engagement process, MRC carefully considered all the feedback. Originally proposed was 31 family sites, single family sites, and that was reduced to 17 based on public feedback. And then also it was important to the public that we maintain the forested area, which is how we arrived at the 3.04 total acres for the P1 R zone. That includes the buffer and the forested area to preserve the existing trees. So that concludes my presentation. Basically, I just ask that the Assiniboia Community Committee follow the recommendations of the city planner and approve the proposed rezoning and subdivision, obviously subject to the necessary conditions. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. And again, thank you for allowing me to present today.
Any questions?
Are there other speakers on this?
No one else is registered to, well, Megan was registered to speak, but she is not here.
And any in opposition?
There's a submission in opposition, but no one registered to speak.
Okay. Okay, so do you have any questions or anything? No? So I don't know if I should state this now or maybe for the record, but I just would like to thank Manitoba Housing for this incredible scenario that's unfolding. The Bridgewater Forest, all the Bridgewaters have 20% greenery built into their development. Most developments, 8 to 10%. So the neighborhoods of Bridgewater have 20% greenery. I know of no other developer in the city of Winnipeg that has ever done that. I know of no other developer that is giving up residential lots to put them into green park space, and especially this number of lots. It's incredibly substantial. I know there is a frustration in the neighborhood of Bridgewater Forest that there isn't a lot of flat play areas for basketball court or such. Thus, actually, I'm opening a basketball court on Saturday at Bridgewater Park, Bridgewater Forest Park. So I did put on my Facebook that this was a very rare occurrence that was occurring. Like, it's just, I can't stress enough that we just do not see developers cut down housing in one of the most highly desired, high demand neighborhoods in the entire city of Winnipeg and convert it to park space and put up buffer zone behind houses, which actually I think that's ridiculous, but we spent many months talking about this. This is what the residents working in collaboration with Manitoba Housing did, and we agreed on that. So, you know I get a little worked up sometime about Manitoba Housing and just stuff, but I can't say enough good things on this particular topic that is occurring. The green space right now, because the land has never been properly graded, because we were waiting to see what would happen, or till the homes came in, it's sort of pooled, the drainage has pooled. But I can assure residents and the committee members that once all the housing is built and done and the drainage is in, the city will completely work to reforest and deal with this beautiful gem of green space that's being left. Yeah, so thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the work on this. Thank Manitoba Housing. Thank you, Manitoba Housing, to Jamie, who has been amazing on all of this. And it's kind of difficult to convey sometimes to people how fortunate they are in a situation that, honestly, I deal with schools and residents with traffic around schools, which is a nightmare. So this is an incredible, I guess, blessing in disguise for some. I see some have sent letters of support. They realize that this is a very good thing. Anyways, let's just move on and build these houses,
I
so.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I think I'd like to point out that if I'm correct, you have the pathway is going to
Yeah,
connect
there's,
to the cul-de-sac between.
Yeah, it'll
lot
kind of,
7 and 8.
yeah, it'll go through the passive, like forested area and connect to an existing parks and recreation zone, just so.
Which is a very positive thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, thank you for your
Thank you, I
presentation.
appreciate that.
No further questions? Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Okay, just confirming that there's no one else in the gallery wishing to speak in support of the application, no one in the gallery wishing to speak in opposition to the application or with respect to the application. Okay, are there any questions for the public service?
None.
Okay, technically, the applicant is entitled to speak in rebuttal to comments made, though.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any motions?
Okay, all right, I'll make a motion. I'm gonna just get the motions in front of me. That the report of the public service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
That the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. Okay. I'll give my reasons now, okay? Well, I don't know if I could say that all again, but this is a very rare opportunity where a developer is allowing public reserve to be incorporated into an area that was zoned single family. As counsel for the area, I'm very appreciative of what is being presented by Manitoba Housing. Very appreciative of the incredible effort and time and outreach and consultation with area residents. This is, it's not multifamily, it's single family in keeping with the area. It's providing even more green space in a neighborhood that has twice the amount of green space of virtually any other neighborhood in the city of Winnipeg. And I'm really, really pleased to support this.
Dr. Duncan, any others? Nope. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
I'd like to move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Concluded.
Motion carried.
Please note the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. Item 4, oh, sorry, concerns.
Nope, thank you.
Keep going.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4 is a rezoning at 101 DeVos Road under file DAS 210 of 2024D. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 5 is a variance at 101 DeVos Road under file DAB 161807 of 2024D. Give a brief overview of the application.
Very good. Yes, thank you. The subject site is located on the north side of DeVos Road. This is to the west of Pembina Highway and just north of the Perimeter Highway. This is located in the Richmond West neighborhood of the Waverly West Ward. The property is approximately 4.2 acres in size and currently contains a 2-story manufacturing building. This building has stood on the site for at least 25 years, and the site has operated as a manufacturing use, in particular a seed bagging and distribution warehouse, for more than 60 years. This property is located in the Established Neighborhood Recent Communities Policy area under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy, and the property is zoned A, or an agricultural zoning district. The current seed bagging use was lawfully established under an agricultural zoning through a variance back in 1962. So this would have been a variance to the rural municipality of Fort Garry, I believe. The applicant is, so that's how this manufacturing use has been able to lawfully operate on this site as a non-conforming right. The applicant's proposing a new industrial use for the site. Specifically, they're proposing a new tenant, which would be a warehouse and distribution center for building supplies. So things like drywall, insulation, shingles, and the like. Because this use has changed from seed bagging to building supplies, the non-conforming rights that were established in the 1960s would be lost, and so the property must be rezoned to allow the new use that is proposed. As such, the applicant is rezoning the land, and they are proposing to rezone to the M1 or light manufacturing zoning district. There are no changes or expansion of the building or substantial changes to the site layout proposed as part of this application. The associated variance that is also before this committee today is to allow the existing building to remain with a rear yard setback of 20 feet instead of the required 25 feet. So the configuration of the building comes to the backyard at an angle. So one of the corners of the building is within 20 feet of the rear property line. The zoning bylaw says 25 feet, so a variance is required to keep that building as where it is standing. The public service supports the rezoning and associated variance application because this site has functioned and contained industrial use for more than 60 years. There's no changes or expansion of the building proposed. And the site is located in a location on the edge of the Richmond West neighborhood and is not expected to have an adverse effect on the residential properties to the north of the site, north and west of the site. So for these reasons, it's recommended that the rezoning and the variance be approved. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I have one question, if I may. The existing structure, will it be demolished or are they incorporating or?
It's going to, the building's gonna stay. They're keeping this existing building. It's just gonna be a new use, like a new operation taking place inside the building.
No one registered to appear with respect to this application, and I don't see anyone in the community, so there are no speakers today.
Does it come back for plan approval?
No, this one doesn't, or that's how it is right now, is that there's no.
We can maybe come back for plan approval.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I did have one question. And I think I asked you this many moons ago when we were talking about this. I had someone looking at it for multifamily. And the city didn't want to put multifamily there. Any reason?
I don't recall being part of that conversation. I know, given the location and the state of DeVos Road, and it's, it's kind of comes at it intersects with Pembina Highway at an interesting point where, the clover leaf at the perimeter highway is just starting. I think, just kind of thinking about it off the top of my head, I don't see this as a suitable site for multifamily. There are a couple of other industrial uses that are operating on the south side of DeVos Road. They've been also here for decades. So it's an interesting little manufacturing or industrial type cluster. There would likely need to be the state of DeVos Road. It's not a road with a sidewalk or anything like that.
Okay, so that's a good segue to a question here on page 21. It says the developer shall pay to the city in cash on demand their share of the cost of the following services to be constructed in DeVos Road by others along the full length planned area abutting DeVos. So concrete lane of pavement, streetlights, landscaping, sidewalk. So what does that mean?
There'll be, I can Kevin from Land Development. He's not here right now, but I can ask if he's still in the building, I believe. So I can ask if he can come and talk to that.
Sure. Does that mean they're having to do this or no?
Yeah, they would be required to pay for it in front of their building or in front of their property.
So yeah, maybe you can confirm that, like, is that like, this requires them to do it, or is it just putting money aside until everyone else puts money aside?
At that, and asked him if he's free, if he can come here, but
Yeah, this is great. The building was empty for a while. The seed place was a great attraction for rodents and such. So, good morning, sir. Good morning. So I just had a quick question here. On page 21, it goes to Boss Road. It says the developer shall pay to the city in cash on demand their share of the cost of the following services to be constructed by others along the full length of the planned area. 10-meter wide, 200-millimeter thick Portland cement concrete lane, street lighting, landscaping, concrete sidewalk. So what does that mean? Like, are they just putting money into a reserve for this, or are they going to do it?
So, sorry, I don't have it up on my screen. I believe it's construct or base share. Is it not? At the clause?
Well, I'll let you pull it up and.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Their share
So
of the cost.
the big issue is that it's a pretty big ask for this developer to actually construct it all, considering the size of the development. Eventually, it does need to be constructed, and we do need an ability to pay back if it does construct it. So should this developer proceed to construct it, there would be a mechanism to reimburse them once the other developments adjacent or that benefit from the infrastructure proceed. However, chances are that what will occur is that we will take a letter of credit and hold on to it until such time that it is constructed, and then it goes with that.
Okay, so just so I can clearly explain this to residents, are they building a road and a sidewalk and landscaping or no?
Chances are this would be determined by the director of public works at the time they move forward, but the chances are they will be constructed by this applicant, but will be constructed in the future.
So this industrial area that's been sitting there for 60 years plus, I mean, in theory, this could be held in trust for 60 years, 50 years.
Correct. We certainly have examples of letters of credit that are outstanding from the 80s for infrastructure in St. Anne's, among others. It's not an ideal situation. We are not in a position to prioritize capital funding to improve this road. And we do need to be realistic on the obligations we place on developments as well. So it's a balancing act that we're trying to do. That's reality.
So this is the road, this section of this road, this is like all gravel roads, they create lots of grief. This is a section of road that immediately abuts Pembina Highway. So can a portion of it be done? And they have a big strip, can a portion of it be done?
Sure.
Like their section?
Sure.
I mean, to me, that would be more logical than holding it for 40 or 50 years from those other industries that may or may not. Industrial property doesn't flip fast, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we can certainly revise that or tweak the wording that it's to be constructed.
Like, I mean, if it was in the middle of the road, if it was an industrial spot in the middle of the road, I get it, no, right? Would make no sense, but this goes right to Pembina Highway. So, and if we look at I mean, either way, they're gonna have to give a letter of credit for that value or actually do it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a great project. The mice will be gone. The vandals will be gone. Like, I can't stress how wonderful this project is. But what about the person on the other side of the road? No, I guess they don't. Do they pay anything, or do they have to pay the whole stretch of the road, or?
So we would, Again, when they move forward for intensification for rezoning, that would be our opportunity to collect. Alternatively, this developer could initiate. But the only way that we can collect is when they do it.
From the other one. So then how can this one, build the road?
They would build and then they would have to sit on that obligation for. It would be outstanding until we could collect on their behalf.
They would pay for it? So this Sentinel Storage, which is on the other side of the road. No, just wait here. No, it doesn't go right to Pembina Highway, sorry. The Sentinel Storage guys there, so this is in the middle of the road. Okay, so let me ask you this. Can you prepare a summary of the properties on DeVos Road that have already put out a payment on hold?
Sure.
Okay,
Can't do it at this.
no, I know we can't do it right now. Right, because on the other side, there is, I think it's a shingle company on the other side. Just seems, yeah, so how do you determine what amount the letter of credit is in today's dollar value?
So we have rates, published both for the regional streets and for the local streets, and we multiply them by their frontage. So the number of feet that they fronted.
Right, yeah, no, this one doesn't, this is in the middle of the road, sorry, I haven't been down to Voss in a while. Even though I drive by it every day. Okay, so, fine. We're not gonna get the road paved, I can see that. So you're going to get back to me though, telling me what other holdings there are along DeVos for dollars set aside for a road. So this just help me understand this. So you hold this funding, it doesn't allow for inflation or anything. It's just a letter of credit and a snapshot in time at the period that you're holding it, right?
Well, it's a letter of credit and we can ask for increases if there's a dramatic increase or a reason for it. But ultimately it would be the invoice value at the time that it's increased. So as the rates increase, so would the obligation.
So what happens if the entity sells? What happens to that letter of credit?
They would need to actually do a reassignment, so they would need to cancel for a reassignment, or someone else would have to replace it there.
And that happens? Okay, I guess it doesn't come to committee. I don't recall ever seeing that happen.
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head any that in my time here at Conto Savoia, but they do. Yeah, one a year or so.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, this is a great project. I'm really happy about this project. So, I don't have any more questions. Thank you. Okay, so, I guess I'll make a motion. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? That the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye. That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
That the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forwarded to the Executive Policy Committee via the priority rezoning process. No amendments, no.
Warning reasons?
So would you like them to amend that they concern any portion or the option?
No, not in the middle of the road. No. We, as for plan approval, what they've submitted is fine.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch this earlier, but with the variance, we put a condition on the variance that they develop according to what they're showing. They're not really developing anything. They're planting some new trees, but we like that plan. So we've put a condition that what they need to do for permits just look like what they're showing us in the variance. So because we like what they're doing.
Perfect, okay. Yep,
Those are supporting reasons.
okay. Sporting reasons, this site has long been vacant and has caused interesting activities and has been an interesting draw for creatures and humans alike. So this is good that, this is very good that, we're going to see some action on the site. So, I'm very supportive of this rezoning.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
That the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Okay, aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representation is permitted on the subdivision or rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay, now we'll move to the variances. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read,
Those in favor? Aye. Aye,
that the receipt of the public representations be concluded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. It does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property in the adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. It is the minimum modification of the zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. The supporting reasons will be the same. Okay,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
That the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
That the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Now, are we done the hearing portion?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we resume to the regular Assiniboine Community Committee meeting, item number 10?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was looking for, obviously this is of, public interest. Wilkes and all of the, access points to Wilkes and, in combination with the Sterling Lion portion to Route 90. The study is straightforward for those of us that, see these things on a daily basis and, are intimate with the information that's provided and have the public service be able to answer any of our questions, but that's not the case for the public in general. So if Mr. Blatz is able to provide a bit of an overview of what they've been working on here for the last several months, that'd be much appreciated.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor. Good morning, committee. The public service was directed to study Wilkes near Elmhurst Road as it relates to safety, speed limits, and potential speed reductions. In a review of the collision information, we found two things to highlight at the intersection of Wilkes and Elmhurst. Specifically, there was a high number of rear-end collisions between southbound vehicles, and there was a high number of collisions between southbound left vehicles with westbound through vehicles. We've identified that a traffic signal would eliminate most of the risk with these two collisions, as it would provide more control to the intersection. There has been a previous administrative report several years ago that also recommended a traffic signal at this location, and in conjunction with that, intersection improvements such as an eastbound left turn lane and a westbound right turn lane. The cost estimate for that was in excess of $2 million and was referred to the budget process, but at this point has not been funded. So at this point, we're still recommending the traffic signal, but our recommended approach is different, that we engage with a consultant to identify an acceptable low-cost solution for the traffic signals to be installed with the existing lane configuration. So adding traffic signals, but without adding any turn lanes or any significant changes to the lane configuration at the intersection. And then as an intermediate measure to reduce the collision risk, there were 2 speed limit reductions that were recommended on Wilkes Avenue that are detailed in the report. In general, those speed limit reductions that were recommended are to reduce the current section of 90 kilometers per hour that extends from the perimeter at the west, reduce that to 80 kilometers per hour, and then a section of about 1 kilometer of road centered around Elmhurst to reduce that to 70 kilometers per hour. So the recommendations for the speed limits would be referred to the Standing Policy Committee for Public Works and ultimately onto council if their recommendations are accepted.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Duncan?
So, as you're aware, we held a well-attended public consultation piece, and there were several different options, including temporary traffic signals, stop signs, restricted passing, restricted turning times, reduction of speeds, improvement of shoulders on the roadway, closure of intersections, closures of accesses to intersections. In the conversations, it also acknowledged the development to the east and the west extremities of Wilkes and Sterling Lyon. From a public service standpoint, why were none of the items that were considered at that public forum implemented into this report, other than the reduction of speed in the Elmhurst region, and then from, we'll call it Liberty and Fairmont west of the perimeter highway?
Several of these items are addressed in the report, specifically the temporary traffic signals. We didn't see them as being feasible just because there are unresolved issues related to the power supply and where to locate a temporary traffic signal. There's a Transport Canada federal regulation that traffic signals within a certain proximity of an at-grade rail crossing need to be connected to the rail infrastructure, and it's not possible to connect a temporary traffic signal in a way to that rail infrastructure that would meet those regulations. So that's the reason that we didn't pursue the temporary traffic signals. A 4-way stop sign is also addressed in the report. We weren't in support of that because we felt that there was a new risk being imposed that if someone was to go through the stop sign, that the consequences would be quite high. It would be unusual to introduce a 4-way stop sign when the volume of traffic using Elmhurst isn't that high at this point. Although it would be a low-cost solution, we felt it introduced a new safety risk and preferred the option of the traffic signals. There were several ideas around closing access points and turn restrictions, and without extensive consultation and community buy-in, we weren't in a position to recommend those at this time. That's how we felt that we could address the safety issues through the traffic signal and the speed reduction.
What about the no passing on Wilkes?
The no passing was highlighted in the report that there's no issue with us looking at that. We provide direction to the line painting crews and the signage crews on a regular basis, so we can review that and have an answer and have a recommendation for the new line painting season next year.
And then improvements into shoulders at all of the intersections along Wilkes?
Right now, we would recommend shoulder paving improvements as part of any capital road renewal that happens in the area. We don't have a program to retroactively pave shoulders at this point, so that isn't something we had recommended.
The $2 million costs, is that exclusively for the Wilkes and Elmhurst intersection? And when was that cost determined? Like what year?
I believe it was a 2019 administrative report. I'm just referencing the reasons for the background discussion here, but I believe the cost estimate was $2.5 million. It was all around intersection improvements at Wilkes and Elmhurst, and the cost included some consideration for utility relocation, but primarily it was the earthworks and the paving to widen the pavement area there.
And again, just for the folks that don't, here's the scenario is that I get residents that either drive through that area that are commuting or residents that are using it, and they just can't wrap their head around. You did not you personally, but Public Works did a project on Charleswood Road and Wilkes that has, what appears to be a more safe intersection, and why we can't just throw that in at Elmhurst. I know the answer, and I've tried to communicate that to people, but can you help me here communicate that to people?
I don't know the exact history off the top of my head, but I suspect that the intersection improvements at Charleswood Road would have been driven by the development in the area, and because there isn't improvements or neighborhood development happening at Elmhurst, that those developer obligations weren't able to be attached to the intersection the same way.
What about the actual available space at Elmhurst and Wilkes?
Yeah, that's a very good point. As we move west through the city, the separation between the rail line and Wilkes gradually gets wider. So, and it's not that much more room, but the 20 or 30 meters of additional space we have between Charleswood Road and Wilkes makes a big difference compared to the only a few meters that we have at Elmhurst.
So if we were to do an appropriate intersection at Elmhurst with a controlled intersection, what type of impact would that have on the landowners to the south?
The 2019 report includes a figure that showed some property acquisition and closing of at least one approach on the south side. So depending on the vehicle circulation in those lots or the customer access, the impact for each business would vary, but likely significant for those businesses.
Okay, so if I were to rally the troops here and say let's invest at least 2.5 million in 2019 dollars into that intersection, which I would assume is going to be higher now in 2024 going on 2025. What would be the impacts on Elmhurst Road, that is a residential street, that is granular, that has ditches, that has only single family homes on it with several intersections that are also only single family homes leading to Grant? What would be some of the impacts there?
The traffic volume we see on Elmhurst today is not very high. And I suspect part of that is because some drivers don't feel comfortable making the turn onto Wilkes, either because of delay from other vehicles or just their comfort level with making that maneuver. And so if the intersection was improved with traffic signals, it may very well likely attract some traffic to Elmhurst that's otherwise choosing to go north on Grant. So I would expect the southern portion of Elmhurst and Ridgewood as well would probably see an increase in traffic.
So what type of improvements would be needed to, if we ended up going into like similar traffic levels of Shaftesbury Boulevard from Grant to Wilkes and Sterling Line there? What would we have to do to make sure that Elmhurst Road is safe for people to be traveling in that amount of traffic?
Well, I don't think the traffic, the volumes are actually fairly low right now. So even if they were to go up by 20 or 30%, I don't expect that there would be significant issues with the lane capacity there. It's very much, the proposal in 2019 was very much still a moderate improvement to the intersection, and it was focused on turn lanes on Wilkes to improve safety. It didn't include a widening of the crossing on Elmhurst, to my recollection. So likely further study would need to be done to look at a proper intersection at Elmhurst. If the desire was to have something that looked closer to Shaftesbury.
And then would there be a need for yet another set of lights on Grant and Elmhurst?
The study didn't extend that far, so I don't expect so. But it's not something I can answer with certainty today.
Well, the report does touch on that and says that it, in all likelihood, would require another set of lights. In 2019, I believe it is. And what would be the ballpark cost of that as well?
A typical initial cost estimate for traffic signals is $250,000.
Okay.
At this location, because we connect to the rail infrastructure, there's at Wilkes and Elmhurst, there's a highly variable cost there, which is potential improvements to the rail infrastructure to make that connection.
Okay. So if we're not so laser focused on Elmhurst, would there be any other area that we could potentially look at making an access point, a controlled intersection access point that would allow for the necessary space, and so that we're getting as much compliance as possible from motorists, and so that we're not, just pushing the problem to another street? Is there another area along that stretch that we could look at?
That's an interesting question. If I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about a new intersection on Wilkes that would attract traffic or potentially replace Elmhurst and other intersections.
Well, the neighborhood, not a single person has come forward. We say that, we wouldn't like our street to be calmer. We'd like more traffic. None of them want to take this traffic that goes on to Wilkes. So yeah, is there another area along there that a new intersection could be opened and these ones could be closed?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is an extension of the William R. Clement Parkway, which is in the draft transportation master plan, I believe, connecting to Wilkes. The specific details of that I don't have available today. I'm just prepared to speak to what's in the report today.
Okay, so that would be something else that I'd be considering maybe today or at a future time, is to look at the southern portion from Ridgewood to Wilkes of the intended extension of the William Clement Parkway. I know that I'm going to get that's a lot of throwaway costs because we're going to have to upgrade it in the future. The future has been, since on record I can find, 1962. So I'm not sure when that future comes, but I would also like to look at that as a potential new access point onto Wilkes that has an appropriate controlled intersection that then would allow for the closure of Fairmont and Elmhurst to reduce the risk on Wilkes and to make for safer transportation. But today, can I just have one final comment on the speed? Why would we not reduce the speed from Route 90 along Sterling Lion, turning into Wilkes all the way to the Fairmont region to at least 70 kilometers? And why you guys have suggested that from Fairmont-ish to the perimeter that it go to 80, which I think is a good first step, but why would we not just look at the whole stretch being 70?
The reason we focused on Elmhurst was there's a difference in the development of the land when you move further east from Elmhurst. There's about over a 1 kilometer stretch that's primarily farmland with minimal access. So if you're a driver driving west from Route 90, you would experience fairly high density along Sterling Lion past the New Seasons development, as you heard about earlier in your meeting, that's continuing to densify. And then once you pass Shaftesbury, the landscape changes. And so we felt that that was a natural place to sort of reset and then reestablish the speed limit as you enter the denser area around Elmhurst. I understand there were some amendments that were considered earlier. I'm not sure if they were brought forward earlier in the meeting or not.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at that stretch of Sterling Line at 80 kilometers an hour with 4 sets of lights. And, you know, we just approved yet another development in the Seasons. There's another development going in across on the, what would be familiar to people listening, on the IKEA site that we just approved before the summer prorogue. You know, Ridgewood West will turn into Ridgewood South. That, it, to me, I'm looking at this and thinking, why do we have an 80 kilometer an hour zone from Route 90 to, like I said, at least Fairmont-ish? If, you know, the rural feel of Wilkes to the perimeter is 80, then we can start with that. But I think that we need to make steps to making this more of a residential feel to it than a super highway where people are going 100 kilometers an hour. I know it's 90, but let's be realistic. People are driving 100 kilometers an hour on a road that is not like, yeah, I mean, it's paved, sure, but it's paved that, like, take a rip down there if you haven't recently. I definitely wouldn't say that it's a super safe road, but I think I'll wait for time to make amendments, but I do have an amendment here that I'd like the committee to consider, with the speed limits being reduced from Sterling Line to that boundary there around Fairmont. Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll stay on in case there's more questions.
No, I'm good. Councillor, oops, she's got 10.
Good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Madam Clerk, how would I bring forward these amendments?
Would you like me to read them up?
Sure.
Okay, so if I understand the councilor's intent, their motion is to concur in the recommendation of the public service with the following amendments. Delete recommendations 2 and 3 in their entirety and replace with the following. 2, that the speed limit on Wilkes Avenue between the western boundary of the city of Winnipeg, center line of the perimeter highway number 100, and 100 meters west of the western boundary of Fairmont Road be reduced from 90 kilometers per hour to 80 kilometers per hour. 3, that the speed limit on Wilkes and the continuous section of Sterling Line Parkway between 100 meters west of the western boundary of Fairmont Road to the western boundary of Kinnison Boulevard be reduced to 70 kilometers per hour. And then following new recommendation 5 be added and renumber the remaining accordingly. 5, that passing be prohibited along Wilkes Avenue from Shaftesbury to the western boundary of the city of Winnipeg, center line of perimeter highway. And that would be forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Public Works.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then for that, you know, the main concern being the speed. I don't know that, well, I know that we're not going to have traffic lights put into Elmhurst today. I'm not saying that traffic lights along Wilkes will not help. The report does speak to the implementation of a controlled intersection at Charleswood Road and Wilkes as a part of the development agreement of Ridgewood West there. So the public service has said that will come in 2025. I know that residents there will be happy to have a controlled, safe intersection there, and we will continue as the report speaks to. And if Greg wants to speak to any of the ideas that may come or may be looked at in a lower cost solution, but I'm also prepared to have a study done on the new access point onto to Wilkes, which would be approximately a 400 to 500 meter stretch from Ridgewood to Wilkes, beside the Varsity View Sportsplex there. The intended location of William Clement Parkway extension.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah, I'm not sure.
with the motion there,
Is that, are we putting forward a motion? Is that the motion?
So without the piece right now, I don't know if we, you know, I'd like a little bit more time to work on the wording for that last portion there with the new roadway. But for now, with the speed reductions and the no passing to start with, and just remind the public, this is just a start here. But to thank the
So
public,
no passing, painted lines as well as signs.
whatever safety measures the public service recommends.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay. Okay. Motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Any, new business today regarding our,
Oh, yes, we have a little motion about our alcohol.
Motion.
Yes, I suggest one of the two of you propose that.
We have new.
Or I'll propose that.
Yeah, so this would be something, Mr. Chair, that would have to go up to council. However, maybe the committee can, consider this if, the clerk would mind, just around, so what's happening right now is that we as counselors get emails about occasional liquor permits to approve in principle.
Yes.
We say yes to those, then these great events are happening in your community. The biggest one that Winnipeg would know about of late would be the comedy festival that took place at Assiniboine Park, for instance. There are also, your occasional liquor permit at your local community center or cultural gathering. And then they come again after they've happened now to your local community committee. So this would allow for the delegated authority to go to the city clerk in consultation with the area councillor. So this would have to make its way up through to council for consideration, but do we need
So we have to ask for permission for new businesses?
Yes, we'll need a suspension of the rules for new business. If someone doesn't.
Motion for suspension of the rules?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay.
And I think I circulated the wording earlier, councils. There was just a note on there with respect to any reporting. Back to community committee. Not sure if there's any update for that. And additionally, I should just mention that there are also sometimes requests for extension of hours. This committee doesn't often see them, but it's extending hours until actually it's 3 a.m. I'm not sure if there was any appetite to include that in the request for delegated authority with respect to what's needed from the LGCA, but or just to keep it to occasional permit.
I'm comfortable with allowing it as long as it has the wording of the consultation with
The
area councillor.
And so am I.
Got me, Jake.
So to include, so that the authority be delegated to the city clerk to approve requests to grant community event status and extension of hours requests in order to obtain an occasional liquor permit from the Liquor Gaming and Cannabis Authority of Manitoba on the condition that decisions be made only after consultation with the relevant ward councillor.
That's the intention, yeah.
Okay, and would you like an annual report to committee or no?
I think if we're aware of it, we don't need a report.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a good motion.
And that's Councillor
Yeah, so.
Duncan.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Hallelujah. Well, it's gotta go to council now.
Well, that would be.
A quick question, do any of the other committees have many of these alcohol things or?
They do, yes.
So it's not just.
Not St. James and Charles.
We're a boozy bunch.
Holy moly, and my end is not that way. Okay. Perfect,
So is that it?
that's it.
So we're done?
Motion for adjournment
Motion for adjournment?
on our first meeting back.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay.
We're adjourned.
Thanks.